In this video, we're gonna find out which workflow is the best. Again, with Philip from PixelArtistry.
We are going to compare an entirely free workflow for $0 versus a paid one for over $100. The rules stay the same, but this time we will both create the same character and an iconic prop to have a fair comparison in the end.
We asked you guys which character you want to see in the next video, and it is Batman. We decided to go with Christopher Nolan version. Hope you like it.
Alright, to create Batman completely for free and with a free workflow, I'm going to start to create my reference image. And for this one, I'm going to start in ComfyUI. And you might remember it already from the last video. We are using Qwen image, but this time I'm using Qwen image 2511, as you can see on the top here. And I'm also using a GGUF version, which allows me to run Qwen edit way faster and with low VRAM. And once I have loaded in the models and so on, I prepared here for the text prompt Batman, Dark Knight. It's a 3D model, T-pose, front view, photoreal and full body and so on. And once you have that, we can then run the workflow just by clicking here on run. And once the generation is done, as you can see, we get this image here. You can always play around, of course, with the settings over here to get the best results possible, but this is also a really solid start already that we can then use, for example, in the next step to refine it and to generate single parts of our mesh to further refine them.
Alright, so as usual, the first step is reference, but since we're making the same character, we're gonna use the same reference set, and image models do not differ that drastically as 3D AI models. So for example, I used to do that with Nano-Banana, let's say on full AI, Nano-Banana available also in other places. As simple as dropping a character, saying like put it in a pose, remove a cloak, the same way we create a set of views. And Phil will show you his setup in Comfy, which gives almost same good results.
As a next step, I'm using then Qwen image edit, as well here the 2511 version. Of course, you will also find all workflows down below in the video description for free to download. And once I have that, I will load then in my reference image. And of course, because we have to make this collaboration fair, we're using the same input image. So I'm actually using here the same that Stefan has. I'm just uploading it here. And what I will do is then I'm prompting here only show his head, because I would like to get a close-up of his head that we can generate the head separate from his body. And once I have that, I can then again click here on run. And once the generation is done, as you can see, we get then this close-up of his head, which is great. And this one we can then use for our 3D model generation.
Okay, so let's take a look at the reference that we prepared. It is head in different views. Since for paid flow, I definitely gonna use multi-view. There is hand separate, cloak separate with few views. There is full body Batman with cloak, reference for texturing. There is also Batman without cloak, without head, and without head and hands. And you might guess why, because we're gonna combine parts. And of course, Batmobile.
Alright, to now generate Batman in 3D with a free workflow, what I'm going to use is Trellis 2 in combination with Hunyuan 3D. And first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to decide which part I will generate in Trellis 2 and which one I will generate in Hunyuan 3D. And to have the most detail, for now I will generate his body in Trellis 2, and I will show you that now in a second how you can do that. But I will generate his head, for example, in Hunyuan 3D, because Hunyuan 3D is really good in generating clean shapes, and this is crucial for the head. So we will use a mix, and then we're going to combine them in Blender for the best details. So what I'm going to do is I'm loading in here my image, which I generated with Qwen edit. And once I have that, what I can then do is that I'm going in the settings over here. Make sure then to choose the best resolution. If you have a strong GPU, you can choose here 1536 cascade. Make sure then for good quality that you increase the sparse structure steps over here, the shape steps, as well as the sparse structure resolution. And in case you would like to learn more about it, make sure to check out my video about Trellis 2, where I deep dive into the settings and where you can then learn a lot how to generate the best 3D AI models possible with Trellis 2. So once I have set my settings over here, we can also see that I'm already remeshing them over here, simplifying our mesh to 1 million face count. And I will also have here mesh fixes that will make sure that it will kind of, for example, fill holes, and also make sure that we fix our normals and so on with the geometry pack over here. Once I loaded this in here, I will then make sure that I click here on run, and then we can take a look at the result in a second. Alright, great. And once the workflow run through, as you can see, I'm getting then this really nice detailed model here of his body, which we can then use in Blender to import from. As you can see, I saved it over here. I called it head because I didn't change the name. But anyways, we can use this then. I will do then the same with this workflow to load in my hand model, for example, by just choosing my image over here and then to load in the hand model that we have over here and then just running the workflow again and then later on import it into Blender.
Now moving to the 3D generation. Since I'm not limited by budget, I'm gonna use Heighten 3D, which recently released Heighten version 2.0, and I really like it. Improved textures, improved geometry adherence, and updated UI. I'm gonna go create them one by one using version 2 model and max possible resolution, of course texture. For head, I'm gonna use portrait mode and multi-view. Done. Alright, and I'm gonna press generate. For body, I will only use single view since I don't have anything complex at the back, but for the cloak, we can use multi-view as well. Alright, let's review the results. As you can see, I already generated few of them, but you don't really need a lot of credits to create that much. Every time you create 3D model and you're not really happy with the result, there are 3 retries on the bottom, 3 retries per generation. Then you can see I already used them all, and after a second try I got really good one. I'm gonna use this one as a head, looks really sick. We can also review the Batmobile I created. It also looked just amazing. I don't really think I need to add something here. It's just cool as it is. For the body, I decided to go with full body version, since if you leave it cut, it might form the holes and I want my mesh to be solid. The head and hands here are not good, but that's fine because I created nice cloak. You can see this one, and this one I don't even need to try again. Looks super cool. And finally arm. Here we go. Looks just amazing.
The next thing is that I'm going to generate the head, and this one I will do with Hanyuan 3D. And to do this, I will just go here to 3d.hanyuan.tencent.com, and it's free because we have 23 generations a day, which is great. So I will definitely use this to also get good quality and that we get then a really nice character in the end. Alright, and to generate our head now, what I will do is that I'm going to multiple images, make sure that using here version 3.1, and what I will do to get the most correct shape is that I'm going to use upload the correct image like the front view. Then I'm also will choose a side view. I will then use also a back view like this one, and this will then make basically sure that we have correct proportions of our head and it doesn't look like wrong or stretched or something. So this is great. It's enough to only upload 3 images. You can upload here up to 8 images if you would like to, but I think this is fine. And we can also make sure that we just use here geometry because we don't need the texture for now. And then I'm going here to generate immediately. And once generated, as you can see, we then have here our model and we have a really nice shapes now, and it's really defined, and we can use this now then directly in Blender by just going here to GLB and then download. After generating the head, I also did the same with the cloak model that we have it over here. So I'm also going to download this one. And last but not least, we have our Batmobile, which I have over here, and also using the same reference image as Stefan, of course, to have then the fairest comparison. And once it's generated, as you can see, we then have here our preview of our Batmobile, which I think looks also really solid with the clean shapes and so on. And we will come back to this later.
Now, this time we decided to do one thing different. We are not going to set hard polygon limit to show you more detailed version, but it doesn't mean we're gonna work with million vertices. Luckily for me, in Heighten they offer a topology that can actually optimize the polygon. This is still in beta, but I'm the lucky one. I can use this, or we can basically do the same reduction in Blender. I'm gonna download it as GLB and let's process it. I'm gonna go to the Blender, drag and drop it here. All right, and what I need to do, select the model, press tab on the keyboard. We'll see this extremely dense mesh, but what we need to do is press M on the keyboard and select by distance. So first it will merge vertices. All right, now you can see there is 20,000 merged vertices. After that, we can go back from edit mode, go to modificator, find the modificator called decimate, and simply reduce the face count. Ideal ratio will be somewhere around 15k polygons, which will be around this ratio. Press enter and we're gonna need to wait while it's recalculating the mesh. Alright, so it recalculated to 100K and you can see there's not much reduction in quality. I'm gonna go a little bit higher, 0.025. If you see something like this is not a problem, just a shading thing, and just press right mouse button and add this modifier. This will just fix the shading error. Now we can actually apply the modifier and continue working. You can save this model again, or we can continue building up the character. If you don't know yet, I also have another videos about best 3D AI tools. Definitely subscribe and watch my another videos. And if you're looking into some local setup in Comfy, check out Philip YouTube channel. He has amazing detailed ComfyUI tutorials.
And once in Blender, I basically then started importing all my models by just going here to File, Import, and choosing GLB, and then selecting my models over here, which I downloaded from Yuan 3D. Or if you generated it in ComfyUI, you can go here to Output and to your Output folder. And once we have them in here, I just started placing them. As you can see, we have here different parts. So what I will do is, for example, that I'm going here, set the origin to geometry, and then just move it so that it aligns with my model. Because what we're going to do in the next step is then merge those parts. Once we have done that, next step is then as well that we apply our scale for all our model parts. So what I will do is that I'm going in here, hitting Ctrl and A and all transforms, then make sure to do the same for all the other ones as well. So all the transforms are then reset, as you can see here, to 0 and 1. Alright, and then last but not least, it's important that we also have the origin where the 3D cursor is, so basically in the origin of the world. So what I will do then with each object is just go in here, say set origin, and then origin to 3D cursor. And once we have that, we can see that we have our origin then over here, and we will do the same for each other part as well.
Let's just drag and drop all the models that we have into the one scene. And now this is the only part we're gonna show how to do in Blender, because this lets you to significantly increase the quality of the model. And this step is relatively simple. We're gonna show you just few simple tips and you're gonna able to learn over this video. So the first part, of course, is to position all the parts. You can do that in solid mode or in textured mode. Maybe in textured mode is actually even easier. Okay, I think this part should be somewhere here. And we also need to remove this part from the hand and the cape. Also, make sure your character is positioned right in the middle of the center of the coordinates. That will allow you to enable the symmetry mode. Well, I'm super surprised at how good it fits. Now you can see that my cloak is too reflective. That might happen with generated models. To fix that, we're just gonna go to Shading tab, select this object and find the roughness and just disable it. And instead, you can set the value you like here.
Now we will delete the unnecessary parts and refine our mesh that everything is at the correct place. Alright, and once we have then cleaned up our mesh, basically remove the parents and so on, what we can do now is that we go then into the sculpting mode, because now we can actually start deleting stuff that we don't need. For example, here it's crashing as well in the head area, and we can start refining it here in the sculpting mode. And there's a really easy technique. So what we can do is that I'm going into front view, then I'm going to make sure that you select the hand model then over here, like this hand. And what I can do then is first isolate it. So I will just, by selecting it and then hitting dash, and then I will go also in sculpting, doing the same thing. And once I'm here, what I can do then is that I'm choosing here the lasso mask, and then I can go around here and basically start removing parts that we don't need by drawing a mask. And I will do this by, for example, now removing this part here, what I don't need, like basically drawing around. This will then mark our selection, what we are going to remove in a second. And once we have then our selection over here like this, what I can do then is go to mask, and then I can say mask, slice and fill holes. And once you did that, as you can see, it will then remove what we had before, and it will also close it, which is really cool, because this will make it way easier to combine our mesh and then to remesh it again. So this is great. And when I'm going back now to my model, as you can see, we have now this gap here, but this is also easy to fix. So what I can do then is that I'm also going into the hand, make sure then to grab the elastic grab brush over here, and then making the selection wider. And then I can now start dragging it around so that in the end we have then a connection over here. Just make sure that we don't have any like holes or something in the end, like gaps, visible gaps. So this brush is really helpful for that, and we can then kind of now refine it and go around here and fix then the mesh so that we have this intersections closed. And don't worry too much if it's overlapping still a bit, because we will going to remesh this anyways. Just make sure that you place it kind of correctly, that it makes kind of sense, so what you're looking for in the end. And then make sure to clear the mask over here, and then I can also smooth it out. Same technique I will do for the head actually, so I will just start placing it here so that it's kind of going over here. But one important thing is that we also deleting the neck area that we have over here. So I will go back to my lasso brush, and then after having it selected, I can then go into the front view and then just drawing a shape around it, and then also doing the same approach again. I can blend in my head again, and now I can grab again my brush, the elastic grab brush, and now refine it. Okay, great. And once I have then refined my pieces and I mirrored, for example, the hand simply over, once I had the position figured out, what I can do now is that we are going to unify each part. So to do that, I will just join them by just clicking Ctrl and J. And now we have one mesh together, and we can rename this to something like Batman combined. And once I have that, I will just simply copy it as a backup.
I just selected hands, and I'm gonna do the same thing, mask, fill holes, boom. Go clear the mask, go to object mode, and we can connect the hand. Okay, so it should be somewhere here. I'm gonna go add modifier called mirror and choose the mirror object, the Batman. And you can see it just mirrored this one, just so my hands are symmetrically positioned. And the one last thing, press on the body here, go to sculpt mode again. Boom, and it's done. I'm gonna do the same with head, but for you. Okay, here's my result. Here I connected head with elastic grab. I just aligned a little bit better the cloak, but it was already very good. So here how it looks. It is okay that there is a not perfect connection line. We're gonna fix it on texture. Now, the very last tip here is before you will export objects and start painting, press on each object and press Ctrl A in Blender and select rotation and scale. That will apply rotation and scale, so objects are not scaled crazy way when you transfer it to another software. Let's check on Philip.
What I'm going to do now is first thing that we're going to remesh it in sculpting mode. So I will go to sculpting, then I'm going to remesh, and I'm choosing here a value of like 0.001. Something like this, and then I will hit remesh. And once then we have remeshed, as you can see, we have now a very high poly count by going to statistics. And of course we now need to reduce it because this is way too high, but we have one unified remeshed mesh now, and we keep all our details, which is great with this method. So what I will do next is that I'm going to modifier and then saying decimate. So just make sure that you're changing now the ratio over here by just reducing it and go something like 0.1 and then hitting enter and wait. Okay, and once decimated, as you can see, we have now way less polys than before because I just hit apply on the modifier. And once we have that, we have now our character ready to be exported. So we have now our Batman model, we also have our cloak, and we do have as well then our Batmobile, which I will also export then for texturing.
And for texturing, I'm gonna use Modddif, same as Philip, but Pro version, of course, which give me 4K texture support. I'm gonna create new project, make it private, import the Batman model that we just created. Note, I did not join the object this time, so it will be easier to paint. So 4 objects, all good. Wait a little bit. They are imported. Let's select and go into texture mode. So here in object view, you can basically switch through object, and let us start with the head. And I'm gonna show you one cool tool that only available in Pro Modddif version. I'm gonna attach the reference. I'm gonna add them all. All right. I'm gonna select the front view and press disable this texture. So we have no textures, and press generate image. And here there is a button add as layer and upscale. Boom. Can you believe what you see? I cannot believe. This is insane. Look, we just textured it on nearly perfect from one click of a button. I'm gonna turn it around and do basically the same exactly thing. Then press this button again. Boom. Wow. How cool is that? This is another level of texturing. And you can do the same thing for the back. And you can see with the body, I also started with the projection and the results is insane. That's super easy to do again. My only tip here is that when you select the view to generate image, don't make it extra close. Sometimes you need to take it from far so AI has the context of what's happening in the scene and can texture it right. Hands a little bit tricky, might actually take a little bit of time, but you can see I still managed to do that very quick. And finally, I also made cape, and you can see how easy it was to do with projection. And when everything is done, you can simply download the objects here in this menu. I already did that, and let's put the final version in Blender and review. Look how cool it looks. You can additionally adjust the roughness here just to make some stuff a little bit more glossy. As you can see, it defaulted. All right, and maybe a little bit for the cloak as well. And here's our final result. Looks amazing. I would love to see what Philip are creating.
What I will do is just importing my Batman model, and since it still has a kind of high poly count, what I will do is, and Modddif has this really cool feature, when we click here on the three little dots, we can go to simplify, and then I can choose here a custom triangle size, and since our Batman is a hero asset, I will then choose something like 150k polys, and this will be then also bake a normal map for us with all the details from the high poly mesh, which is great, and this is the only thing we need to do. So I will go to simplify object, and then we will get a new topology with a more simplified mesh. We have new UVs, and we can then texture this mesh, and I will show you this in a second. I'm going to the texture mode over here, and now we can start creating our texture, and I will do this by going to multi-view, then uploading the reference image, and I'm just typing in as a prompt Batman, and then I can start generating all my multi-views. And then when the multi-views are done, we can see that it gives us a great head start, but of course, obviously there's still things to fix. So to do that, I can first of all create a new layer with fill missing area, and then it will fill the empty spots. And now, for example, we can also fix this back and paint details and so on. So what I'm going to do is that I'm going to inpaint section and painting my region over here. That should be supposed to be fixed. Then I'm switching the single view and then generating my image again, and then I can paint on top of it to fix it by creating a new layer. And this preview already looks better. So what I can do is start inpainting and just painting here on top. And as you can see, we get in this nice details over here, and this looks way better than what we had before. I will do the same then, by the way, also for the head area. So I'm just generating here a new image, and then I can start painting in here the details as well by changing the brush size. And as you can see, we get then way more defined texture here that we can then use for it.
And the final touch, we're gonna use AccuRIG to animate and pose him. I'm gonna remove cloak and export everything into FBX with this setting, and I'm gonna go open AccuRIG. So the tool itself is actually free, but most of the animations are paid, but we don't care about money now. Okay, I'm gonna drag and drop our Batman. Okay, then we're gonna need to set the mirror line. Okay, press rig the body, give it some time, and similar to Mixamo, we're gonna need to place the joints. All right, here we go. And the last thing, we can adjust if something is wrong. His shoulders are quite wide. We can adjust them a little bit. I just adjusted a little bit the shoulders, and now it looks better. You can preview it different poses. Seems good to me. And now let's add motion. You can explore a lot of options here. It's super fun. This is insanely big library. There are also free animation, of course, but very limited. I'm gonna need to find a combat pose. And after a few minutes, I found something really cool called aerial idle, and I think this is exactly what I need. I know this is more Superman pose, but I think Philip gonna like it. Okay, I just bought it, and now let's export it as FBX. I'm gonna export it in Blender. Character and motion works well. Texture side, let's use original. 60 FPS. Move in place will do for me, and export. Back to Philip.
Also load this one into Mixamo. And once I have my Batman imported in here, what I can do then is go to animations. And I think, for example, this pose here works really well. I just type in entry for a cool entry walk or something. And as you can see, the animation works quite great. The hands are also working kind of well. So that's cool. And once we have that, I can then just go to download and make sure that I'm choosing here FBX again, hitting download over here. Then we can go back to Blender. I will just quickly hide this one here. And once I then go back in here saying import FBX, then I'm going to re-import this file. And then as you can see, we get then here Batman with our amateur attached. And what I can do now is when I'm going to the timeline, I can then drag him around and play the animation. And as you can see, he will then do the walk, and we have our character kind of animated. When I disable the amateur, you can see it a bit better. And now what we could do, of course, is as well to then reapply the material on him like this. And then we have our material attached. As you can see, everything is working fine.
Now let's drag and drop it to the Blender. Here's our guy. There are no textures, but that's fine. We just go and reassign textures similar as we usually do with Mixamo. All right, and let's add Batmobile here.
And then we can further refine it. And I will show you now in a second how the final result looks. And now when I render this for the final result, we can see that we have now the Batmobile with a very defined character from Batman, which I think is cool. Only tools I used were completely free here. So this is my final result. Let me know what you think.
Guys, I really hope you enjoyed this video. And as usual, you're gonna need to decide which workflow is the best, which results you like the most.
So I really hope you have enjoyed this collaboration and our second challenge video. I hope you found it entertaining and that you learned something from it, and make sure to subscribe to both our channels to support us.
I really think it's incredible how free workflow goes. Paid also has its advantages and it can be really useful. Hope you enjoyed the video. Like and subscribe, and see you in the next video.
Having said that, see you on the next one.